Good afternoon and welcome to NMH at 1. In today's broadcast brings you the latest news and current events from across Namibia, across the continent and beyond the seas throughout the lunch hour, ranging from sports, economic news, and here's what to expect in this broadcast.
Go to hell, Swapo Party President Hage Geingob tells those who think the ruling party is dying. PDM's Nico Smit convinced in-situ drilling in Stampriet basin will contaminate groundwater sources. Namibia Airports Company to introduce Aviation and Connectivity Forum on the 16th to the 18th of November. Our weekly gig guide highlights key events on the social calendar this weekend. New Zealand police investigate suspected murder of 2 children whose remains were found in a suitcase.
I am Glenn Rashipura.
And I am Aina Koyo, here to bring you these stories and more right here on NMH at 1.
In today's midday news update, Swapo President Hage Geingob said those who think the ruling party is dying should go to hell because Swapo is here to stay. He said this while addressing the Swapo Party Youth League elective congress underway at Ongwediva. Let's take a look.
You should hold your heads up high and proud as Swapo Party members. There are many of you who are now ashamed to be Swapo members. Shame on you. Ashamed to have fled the country. Shame on you. Swapo is dying. The Swapo I see here, which other party can just gather people like this overnight? Huh? Just to sit here. Their national congress is about this much. Huh? Swapo dying where? When I'm looking at you, when I came in, how you behave. That is Swapo dying? Swapo there is dying, you are dying? Tell them to go to hell. You should therefore have.
We have more news coming to you on the other side of this break. Remember to engage with these stories on social media as we share some community news stories from across the country on the other side of this short break.
Getting into our visual news segment, first up, Minister of Works and Transport John Mutora delivered the keynote address yesterday at the Venture Country Club, where the Namibia Airports Company and chief sponsor Bank Windhoek introduced the Aviation and Connectivity Forum planned for the 16th to 18th November. Relying on connectivity, collaboration and cooperation, stakeholders hope the forum will reinvigorate and resuscitate the Namibian aviation industry. Alberto Greg was there.
Of the government of the Republic of Namibia. Another aspect is there might be some people who may doubt the importance of partnerships within ourselves, with others in other countries, in terms of dealing with the subject matter of development. When one looks at Article 98 of the Namibian Constitution, which deals with the ownership structure of the Namibian economy, you will see in there the issue of public-private partnership is there, of the economy. And hence, so far, we also have the public-private partnership law in place through the Ministry of Finance. So we put emphasis on the issue of partnership. Now, coming back now to the prepared statement, which must be appreciated in that broader context, I can only state the following now. As a representative of the government of the Republic of Namibia, definitely I'm very proud to join all of you, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, on this auspicious occasion of launching the Namibian Aviation and Connectivity Forum. As Minister of Works and Transport, my colleagues and I, we are very passionate about aviation and the role played by transport sector in the development of our country.
Popular Democratic Movement Nico Smit says he is convinced in-situ drilling in Stampriet basin will contaminate groundwater sources. He adds that exploration drilling in the basin has led to the presence of radioactive substances. He spoke to Ohone Tlage.
Here today just proves that the community at large are very much against the exploration as it's at the moment, and also very much against any mining of uranium in the aquifer. And I support their views. I think they have a lot of reason to be worried about the future, especially of the water, because if you take what happened 2 weeks ago in Europe, with the Oder River, running through Poland, Germany, the Czech Republic, where it was contaminated with mercury. And that river now into the Baltic Sea. All fish in that river died. The water in that river can't be used even for agricultural purposes. All agriculture along that river came to a standstill. Poland, Germany, and thousands, if not millions of people are dependent on the water of that river. So what is going to happen there, only the future will tell us. Now, if the same happens here, and if you take there's already contamination in the water here, they have said it here and we know it. Contamination. Now, where does that contamination comes from? It's from the drilling that they've done so far in these 600 boreholes. They didn't seal those boreholes properly to prevent that it's leaking. It's leaking, it's contaminated. Now, we don't know to what extent the water has been contaminated. And that is a serious worry. Like one of the gentlemen said here, are we already drinking water that's been contaminated with uranium? And the uranium is just as bad as mercury. There's no difference, even maybe more dangerous. So I support fully the standpoint of the people here. I think it's right. And from my side, again, because I started this thing in Parliament by asking questions to the Minister of Agriculture, and on grounds of my questions and my queries, he stopped the drilling of these boreholes. Up till today, it's been stopped. They are not allowed. Now they want to come into the back door to restart it again. But we will not allow it.
The weekend is officially here, and if you still don't have any plans, NMH at 1 has got you covered with our weekend gig guide highlighting key social events over the weekend. Michael Kayunda highlights these events in the following clip.
Hello NMH at 1 viewers, my name is Michael Kayunde. I'm back on your TV screens to give you a lowdown of some of the events that you can expect this weekend. To start with, as we always do it, you can catch that is Chill Sessions playing tonight at 1900 hours on Namibian Sun's Facebook page, and you can catch the repeat of this show tomorrow on NTV. That is at 6:30 a.m. Moving along with our events that are taking place this weekend, you can catch that is Alexandria performing live at FNCC at the Acoustic Fridays. The show is taking place at 1900 hours. Tickets are $80 and $100 at the gates. Moving along with some of the events that you can expect this weekend, you can expect that is the Glam Guru Roadshow taking place tomorrow at Nampower Convention Center at 8 p.m. Tickets are available at Web Tickets for 330 Namibian dollars. Another event that you can catch that is also tomorrow is the Fun Day that is taking place at Van Hill. You can expect to bump into a lot of Namibian celebrities, from athletes to musicians to influencers and all around celebrities. So those are some of the events you can catch that is this weekend. From me, Michael, until next time, it's bye-bye.
A lot is happening on the political scene, and our daily newspapers dissect these happenings and other current affairs in print. We return shortly after the break with the newspaper review.
Let's delve into our newspaper review. The first paper under review, the Namibian Sun, on its page 1 zooms in on the Swapo party, reporting that with the party teeming with economic opportunists, even by its own admission, it is likely that a few of these ungrounded hoppers might exchange camps and join former adversaries in pursuit of their own parochial fortunes. In another story, the paper reports that Acting Minister of Public Enterprises Ipumbushimi has refused to accept the resignation of Trans-Namib Board Chairperson Lionel Matthews. Matthews and Deputy Chairperson Sigrid Chiyorokisa tendered their resignations from the board on Wednesday. Still with this news from the political space, Namibian Sun on its page 3 explains further that Swapo party president Hage Geingob urged critics to go to hell, adding that the ruling party will not die as they keep claiming. He was addressing the opening session of a Swapo Party Youth League Congress, which kicked off in Ogwediva in the Oshana region yesterday. He assured attendees that Swapo remains firm despite what its enemies say. The ruling party has stood the test of time, Geingob said, and the unity among its youth wing is a clear indication that the party is alive and well. Former SPYL National Executive member Sioni Ilikela begged to differ, however, saying it is a pity that leaders endorse what he termed Mbwalakata Congress, meaning disorganized, falling apart. He further disputed that the Youth League was doing well and would survive for generations to come, as Geingob claimed.
Now, in our next story, in 2018, Grant Noble and Dina Azar, who tried to smuggle a cargo container with 412 kg of cocaine worth about 206 million Namibian dollars into the country from Santos in Brazil in 2018, were found guilty by Judge Orben Sibeya in the High Court in Windhoek, according to a page 1 report inside the Republican newspaper. They were arrested on charge of money laundering, and both defendants were found guilty. The cargo container was imported in the name of Noble's company Zeki Trading and must have contained 480 boxes of photocopy papers. The customs officer at the port on Walvis Bay received a tip that they should be on the lookout for the cargo container that have papers and candy in them. It It was during this search that 20 of the 480 boxes were found to have contained small packets of white powder, which was later confirmed to be cocaine. Now, in our next story on its page 3, the Afrikaans Daily reports that Namibia Airports Company and main sponsor Bank Windhoek will host the Namibian Aviation and Connectivity Forum from the 16th to the 18th of November to revitalize the industry in Namibia. This is after various factors such as COVID-19, rising fuel prices and difficult economic conditions led to the national airline Air Namibia's demise last year. The CEO of the NAC, Master Baisi Kuirab, said Air Namibia was just one of the local victims in the local aviation industry, but survival is non-negotiable. The forum will develop a roadmap to revive this industry.
Now, the Allgemeine Zeitung reports on its first page that for the first time since Agriculture Minister Karl Schleitwein publicly opposed uranium exploration in the Stampriet aquifer, another politician has now spoken out on the controversial issue. Meanwhile, just as in the case of oil exploration in the Kavango, PR campaigns are apparently being held instead of properly held public meetings. Now, according to the Allgemeine Zeitung's page 3, a new research paper shows that hyenas are among the wild animals that are evolutionarily more adaptable than previously thought. The genetic potential in the animal kingdom is high, but it will probably not be enough to save us from climate change. We'll be back with more newspaper review after the break.
Tourismus Namibia is a weekly tourism show that brings you the latest news in the tourism industry and topics related to that. If you would like to feature your brand or campaign on this platform, contact tourismus@synergy.com.na for news and advertising related queries. Tourismus, bring the world to Namibia.
Continuing with our newspaper review, the Namibian also reports on the Swapo party affairs, reporting that President Hage Geingob and Swapo Secretary General Sophia Shaningwa are allegedly drifting apart as the ruling party nears its elective Congress. News about the fragile relationship between the president and his chief administrator comes at a time when Swapo factions are positioning their delegates for the upcoming Congress. The president's faction is allegedly concerned that there was an attempt by party security operative to investigate the background of 3 senior politicians linked to top position and likely supported by Geingob. The paper also reports in another story that over 2,000 hectares of land have been destroyed in the last 3 years by a field fire that was started by an unknown person who threw a firelight in the grass. According to the paper's page 3, 63% of imported goods from other countries for trading purposes are undervalued, misclassified and not declared, which is causing the state to lose money, says the commissioner of the Namibia Revenue Agency, as reported on the Namibian's page 3. The paper further updates on a 2018 case involving 2 Walvis Bay residents accused of smuggling a record quantity of cocaine into Namibia, who were both found guilty in the Windhoek High Court yesterday, based on circumstantial evidence on which the state relied during their trial. Grant Nobel and Dinat Azar were arrested after customs and police officials discovered 412 kg of cocaine with a street value of about 206 million Namibian dollars in a container at the Walvis Bay Harbour, the largest single consignment of cocaine to have been confiscated in Namibia to date.
Now, the New Era reports that government hostels across the country are at risk of running out of food after the Central Procurement Board of Namibia's review panel suspended the contract awarded to 4 food supply companies and ordered the tendering process to start afresh. However, the Education Ministry on Wednesday approached the High Court with an urgent interdict against the implementation of the review panel's decision to suspend the awarded food tender and have the process start afresh in a manner that does not interrupt the supply of food to schools. In another story, the head of state, Hage Geingob, has told the youth leaders they must focus their efforts on identifying qualified, committed, patriotic, and hardworking cadres who will deliver on the Swapo manifesto. Now, according to the paper's page 3, traditional leaders in the Zambezi, Oshadonjupa, and the Kavango East regions are unhappy about the monthly stipend received from the government. They are now begging the government to consider a reasonable increment in line with the increase of cost of living.
Now, according to Market Watch, the African Continental Free Trade Area will provide an opportunity for locally produced goods to access African markets. These sentiments were shared by various speakers at the official launch of Namibia's AFCFTA awareness campaign in Windhoek yesterday. In her keynote address, Deputy Minister of Industrialization and Trade Verna Sinimbo urged the business community to take full advantage of benefits offered under the AFCFTA.
Now, the attempt to prevent the spread of foot and mouth disease from South Africa into Namibia comes at a price for the agricultural sector and consumers. More on this story after the break.
Careers Bistro focuses on the movers and shakers in the corporate world. If you would like to feature your brand or campaign on this platform, contact Zone at synergy.com.na.
Let's get into our economic news for today. Experts called upon government to clinch partnership with international engineering giants such as Germany to upscale local engineers. Paddy Padmanton, Vice Chairman and CEO of ACWA Power and the Director of NEOM Green Hydrogen Company, who are operating the green hydrogen plant currently being constructed in Saudi Arabia, said Namibia would need about 10 square kilometers of land for the 300,000 tons of green hydrogen, which would require up to 6,000 megawatts of solar and wind energy. To build that capacity and amount of renewable energy, you can get it done from the start of construction to be dispatching in about 4.5 years. The entire endeavor will take more time and during the construction period, you will be employing and creating jobs of something in order of about 8,000 people. Author of the Hydrogen Revolution, Marco Alvera, said Namibia is on the right track. Green hydrogen is not an overnight project and a lot of learning is done by doing, he said, adding that the model the country should follow is promoting partnerships. Meanwhile, in her keynote address, Prime Minister Sarah Kugongerwa Amadira said the country envisioned green hydrogen project will bring about massive socio-economic benefits in her first 4 years.
In our next story, livestock marketing activities continued on an upward trajectory in the northern communal areas, with a total of 1,307 cattle supplied by 351 producers sold at auctions between January and April 2022, realizing an estimated 96 million Namibian dollars. Now, according to John Utoni, Meat Board Regional Marketing Manager, out of the 1,543 cattle registered at auctions, 84.7% were sold. This year, Namibia sent beef from the export abattoir at Katima Mulilo to export markets in Angola and Ghana, providing a huge market potential for the communal farmers who had complained over the years of being sidelined from accessing lucrative markets like the European Union and Norway. Now, Tony said in the Meat Chronicles during the same period in 2021, no cattle auctions were conducted in the communal areas because of a foot and mouth disease outbreak. He said of the cattle sold from the NCA, oxen constituted the highest number of 482, 6.88% of the total animals sold, followed by steers at 266, 20.35% during the period under review. Now, 1,905 cattle valued at $19.7 million Namibian were slaughtered at abattoirs in the communal areas. Of these, 447 cattle were grade C, representing 23.46%. 216 cattle were grade A, B, and B, representing 11.34%. Let's take a look at our economic indicators. The Namibian dollar has weakened in value against the US dollar and the euro, while increasing against the Chinese yuan. No changes are observed on the NSX. Capricorn investment stocks are now trading at $10.50. All stock prices remain unchanged on the NSX except for Trustco Group Holdings, which now trade at 49 cents. Copper prices have increased while other commodity prices have dropped according to available data.
3 women aged 37, 39 and 44 were found in bushes with their hands and feet tied close to a river in the outskirts of Maukeng in South Africa. The full story coming up when we return.
Sunset News is a daily news show focusing on national headlines as well as international news. If you'd like to feature your brand or campaign on this platform, please contact sunset@synergy.com.na. Sunset News. Don't end your day without us.
In the African news slot today, we start off with some rather sad news. 3 women aged 37, 39 and 44 were found in bushes with their hands and feet tied close to a river in the outskirts of Maukeng in Kroonstad on Wednesday night. The security guards were allegedly attacked, drugged and kidnapped and stripped naked while on patrol at the Sooses Vlei Stadium the previous night. The women disappeared shortly after reporting for duty on the evening of the 16th of August. Their ordeal finally ended when their screams for help were heard by 3 cattle herders. The men rescued them and took them to a place of safety. According to Free State Police spokesperson Sergeant Maklai Kareli, the 3 women who were found 5 kilometers from the stadium were disorientated and their hands were bound with shoelaces. He said they were in a bad condition and they were rushed to the hospital for observation and test. The women have suffered great trauma and have to go under counseling before speaking to the police.
In our next story, the Southern African Development Community will set up a team to look into the Eswatini crisis, where pro-democracy groups are calling for the abdication of King Moswati III. This was revealed by the presidency after the completion of President Cyril Ramaphosa's visit to the Democratic Republic of the Congo, where he attended the 42nd SADC Summit of Heads of State from 16th to 17th August. Ramaphosa was happy about the SADC setting up a fact-finding mission on Eswatini and on its decision to send a panel of elders to go and find effective ways to deal with the situation. The presidency said, now Eswatini experienced a so-called winter revolution that saw 2 police officers killed and a European Union project disrupted. Pro-democracy groups had high expectations that the SADC summit would address the Eswatini crisis after it was removed from the agenda at the Troika Summit held in South Africa from 4th to 5 April this year. Now, the group is made up of eminent persons, including former heads of state and government, former ministers, as well as diplomats from SADC countries. It is chaired by former Tanzanian President Jakaya Kikwete.
All right, after the break, we return with our international news.
Straight Talk is a debate competition for high school learners and a spelling competition for primary school learners, mostly focusing on current affairs among the youth. Contact Zone at synergy.com.na to share your products and services. Straight Talk. Don't raise your voice, improve your argument.
In international news this afternoon, New Zealand police are investigating the suspected murder of 2 children whose remains were found in suitcases bought at an online auction for unclaimed locker last week. Police launched a homicide inquiry in the Auckland last week after the remains were found by a family going through their contents of a storage locker they had purchased unseen. The 2 children were aged between 5 and 10 and had been dead for some time, police said in a statement on Thursday. The suitcase had been in storage for some time, they added, without providing details. Detective Inspector Tolufu Velu told reporters the children had yet to be formally identified, but they believed they had family in New Zealand. It was possible their families were not aware of the children were not aware that the children were dead, he added. Police did not give any details on how the children had died or whether there were any suspects. The family who found the bodies were not connected to the death.
In our next story, Russia has rejected appeals for a complete demilitarization of the area around the Zaporizhzhia nuclear plant in the southern Ukraine. The move would make the plant more vulnerable, a Russian official said. The calls come amid growing concern over safety at the site, Europe's largest nuclear plant, as both sides accuse each other of shelling the area. Ukrainian workers operate the plant, which has been under Russian control since March. It was one of the first sites seized by Russian troops following the invasion of Ukraine on 24th February. Now, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres sounded the alarm after meeting Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky and Turkish leader Recep Tayyip Erdogan in Lviv on Thursday. Now, the Ukrainian president urged the UN to ensure demilitarization of the nuclear plant, Europe's biggest. Mr. Guterres added that the facility must not be used as a part of any military operation. Mr. Erdogan echoed the UN's chief's concern, telling reporters that he was worried about the danger of another Chernobyl disaster erupting at the plant. Mr. Zelensky has criticized deliberate Russian attacks on the power plant.
All right, after the break, we return with local sports. Stay with us.
Sport Wrap is a daily show focusing on all sport news and current affairs. If you would like to feature your brand or campaign on this platform, contact sportwrap@synergy.com.na.
Thank you for watching our show this afternoon. Debmarine Namibia Desert Jewel captain Nanguloshi Kamutushi says the national netball team are eager to rewrite the history books by qualifying for the World Cup slated for Cape Town next year. Namibia will be hoping to end a 31-year drought since the last time the country made an appearance at the global showpiece. For many of the team members, a World Cup berth will be the greatest achievement of their netball careers. Two of the team participating in the African qualifying tournament is South Africa and Uganda, who have already qualified due to their position in the world rankings. This means that the rest of the teams in competition are battling it out for only two spots available.
In our next story, for the first time in Namibia Rugby Union history, FNB Kudu Rugby Club will host and play a Premier League rugby semi-final match in Walvis Bay. Now all roads will lead to Jan Vulcan Stadium, where the Kudus will take on the University of Namibia Rugby Club at 3:45 p.m. on Saturday in the coastal town. Now, the club sealed the deal last weekend when they claimed a 10-0 victory against Western Suburbs in Walvis Bay. Now, the Kudu Reserve League team also managed to secure a spot in the semi-finals, but will have to travel to Rehoboth to play against Rehoboth second. Kudu coach Kavan Esterhazen labeled the win against Western Suburbs as a morale booster and said it restored the players' confidence after they suffered a great defeat against Grootfontein. After the break, we take a look at our international sports news. Do stay with us.
The Regional Review brings you news, views, and interviews from NMH correspondents from across the country. If you would like to feature your brand or campaign on this platform, contact regional@synergy.com.na.
Let's take a look at our international sports news. With 4 points dropped in their opening two games, Liverpool's margin for error in the expected title race with Manchester City already looks seriously depleted as they prepare for their clash with Manchester United at Old Trafford on Monday. Mediocre displays in draws against Fulham and Crystal Palace mean Jurgen Klopp's side are already in the bottom half of the table, and injuries and a 3-game suspension for new signing Darwin Núñez add to the sense of unease at Anfield. Incredibly, now Liverpool's early season problems look trivial compared with those of their arch rivals Manchester United. For the first time since 1992, United are bottom of the Premier League after losing their opening two games against Brighton and Hove Albion and Brentford.
Tottenham Hotspur centre-back Christian Romero will not be risked for Saturday's Premier League clash with Wolverhampton Wanderers after picking a muscle problem following the match against Chelsea. Manager Antonio Conte said on Thursday Romero played the full 90 minutes against Chelsea last weekend despite the issue and British media, and he could be out for a few weeks, but Conte dismissed suggestions that the 24-year-old Argentine would face a lengthy spell on the sideline. Now, when we return from the break, we come back with your highlights.
My.NA Property Show provides viewers with the best in-class content, engaging interviews, as well as a showcase of the latest property-related products and services. If you would like to feature your brand or your campaign on this platform, contact My.NA at synergy.com.na. My.NA Properties, more than just a roof over your head.
If you are just joining us, here are your news highlights. New Zealand police are investigating the suspected murder of two children whose remains were found in suitcases bought at an online auction for an unclaimed locker last week.
All right, those have been our highlights. Thank you for staying with NMH at 1 and for spending your lunch hour with Aina Koyo and Glenora Shipura. Remember to tune in every weekday at 1 p.m. as we take you through the latest happenings in Namibia and beyond. That is it from us, and right now we bring you a compilation of Regional Review.
Good day, viewers. Welcome to another episode of Regional Review. I am your host, Unole Mongoba, and today is the Friday recap show where we are going to discuss what transpired in the four corners of the country by gathering news that has been brought to us by our regional correspondent who are currently stationed in different parts of the country. So please sit back, relax, as we are going to have a little chat about what transpired this past week. Today it is the 19th of August on this beautiful Friday, and it is known as Humanitarian Day. This year, Humanitarian Day highlights the human costs arising from the climate crisis, the threat to humanity having experienced severe droughts and flooding in the past 10 years. Many people have been left out without access to enough food and water as a consequence, painting a worrying picture for the decades to come. With this, hope remains for all Namibians to join forces towards adapting to the future crisis. Please watch this video prepared by Namibia Media Holdings. For our first news segment brought to us by Monique Adams, on the 10th of August 2022 at the West Dane Stadium in Keetmanshoop, the celebration of the annual African Decentralization and Local Development Day commenced. The theme for this year was making food security a key priority for the territorial development and cooperation. Let's take a look at what Minister Erastus Tutoni, Minister of Urban and Rural Development of Namibia, had to say. This is brought to us by Monique Adams.
First up in our news segment today, we take a look at the events that transpired at the celebration of food security and agriculture that took place last week here in Keetmanshoop at the West Dane Stadium.
Is to recognize local government and urban development experiences in dealing with issues of food security and to showcase best practice intervention as well as identifying challenges and prospects for improving food security levels across the continent. The focus for this year's theme is further dedicated to strengthen the fight against malnutrition in all its forms on the African continent, drawing on the potential of its population. Multiple factors, including land and crop degradation, periodic droughts, and weather-related shocks, poverty, limited access to basic food, staples and essential services, and population growth contribute to the emergency levels of malnutrition in Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, the Joint Food Agriculture Organization, World Health Organization, Conference on Nutrition held in Rome 1992, declared that hunger and malnutrition are unacceptable in a world that has both knowledge and resource to end this human catastrophe, and recognize that access to nutritionally adequate and safe food is a right of each individual.
Hello, Misa. Hello, Misa. Murekova, Nico, Mama. Sipra, Hello Pisacare, Camque Sipra, Hello Pisacare, Camque Se, Hello Pisacare, Camque Sipra, Hello Pisacare, Camque Se, Hello Pisa, Hello Pisa, Hello Pisa, Camque Sipra, Hello Pisa, Hello Pisa, Hello Pisa, Camque Sipra.
The nation that we are too dependent on imports and that we are not able to sustainably produce enough to feed ourselves. It has taught us great lessons to put more effort into food systems to attain self-sustainability. As we are resolute in reaching our goal of zero hunger and bringing about food security to each home, the government has put in place all necessary policy frameworks with organizational structures to support food and nutrition security in the country in compliance with Sustainable Development Goals.
And for our second news segment brought to us by our regional correspondent Desiree Gasses, she tells us that the NAMCO AS level students were suspended for not buying a pocket Wi-Fi. Nyambe Sipeso, a learner who is suspended, says what he has felt or what has contributed to the suspension. The Desiree Gasses brings us more with this story.
Well, viewers, thank you so much for staying tuned, and I really do hope that you do not give up, because I think we can all attest to the fact that nothing good ever comes easy. Now we're going to be moving on straight into the news segment. First, in our news segment, I did visit the NAMCOL of Otjiwarongo, and that was due to the fact that NAMCOL had recently suspended all its AS level learners due to the fact that they did not purchase a certain pocket Wi-Fi. Well, as I spoke to the learners, I did find out that the school did mention that they were going to have pocket Wi-Fi's in the beginning of the year, but they did not emphasize the fact that this was going to be compulsory. As some of the learners said, they did say, quote, you can buy it if you want to, unquote. And some of these learners were really disappointed to find out that they were going to be suspended due to the fact that now the school had deemed the pocket Wi-Fi's compulsory. And some of the learners did complain about the fact that they could not afford this pocket Wi-Fi, as it does cost 690 Namibian dollars. And some of the learners did speak to me, as you will see in a few moments, as I took some clips of speaking to some of these learners, where these learners definitely expressed how they felt about the fact that this pocket Wi-Fi was deemed compulsory. And some of the learners had also spoken about the fact that it is unnecessary for some of them to buy this pocket Wi-Fi, as NAMCO Otjiwarongo does have Wi-Fi on its premises, and the students do have access to this Wi-Fi. And another point that they did emphasize on was that the school still deemed the Wi-Fi compulsory to learners who do have internet access at home, but they also did deem it compulsory to students who do not even have a smartphone, much less a computer at home, as these learners do come from informal settlements. But I would not like to ramble too much, and I would like you to watch the following clips, as some of the students rather spoke to me and gave me their perspective on the fact that the pocket Wi-Fi's are now deemed compulsory. So stay tuned for that.
A majority of us students are currently very unhappy with the implementation of the pocket Wi-Fi's that are being forced on us, because a lot of us, in fact all of us, were not told at the beginning of the year that buying these pocket Wi-Fi's was compulsory. The management came in a week or two, and they came in the hall and told us that if we did not buy these pocket Wi-Fi's, we would be suspended and we would not be attending classes.
And for our last news segment, which is brought to us by myself, Tunole Mungoba, we are going to take a look at what transpired this past weekend at the Namibia Food Volleyball Federation, the first annual school tournament volleyball that they had. There were different prizes from different schools, and this was the northern schools participated from the northern part of the country. So please watch this video for more.
The event is actually the Bengvinduk NVF tournament. This is the initiative of the NVF because we believe schools play a very important role when it comes to volleyball development or any sport. It's the reason why we felt from the small budget that we get from Bengvinduk, let's reserve a little bit of a budget that we are able to sponsor such a tournament for schools, because this tournament will give opportunity for these kids so that they are able to polish their skills and they are able to compete at such a level. Because this is a first of its kind. We've never had such a school tournament before, and we are really impressed that with the numbers that we got here with 12 schools that have turned up today. It's really a great honor to us that we are able to attract such a massive participation.
Game 4. Okay. And then for course A. Okay, we have game 3. Alright. To the referee, please. Time is marked. It's now 11 2. So please come and take the picture. You also have to see. Adana and the follow is the for B, please. Let's move. All the coaches are advised to come and check the ball and know where exactly happened in place. Where is it?
NMH at 1 brings you news from all across Namibia. If you would like to feature your brand or campaign on this platform, contact nmh1@synergy.com.na. NMH at 1, your lunchtime news companion.
Taking a look at the weather from the north to the south, Ungwediva remains sunny and hot with highs of 36 expected over the weekend. Patchy clouds and mild temps are forecast for Rundu. High clouds and subsiding wind is expected at Otjiwarongo, along with sunny and pleasant conditions over the weekend. Marintal is mostly cloudy and cool, but skies will clear and temperatures will rise as from tomorrow. Finally, sunshine and warmer weather is forecast for Karasburg this weekend. Enjoy!
Om kuier